going live in 3, 2, 1. And we are live, it seems. Let me check that, but I guess we are. Yeah, it says we're live, so we're starting. It's happening.
All right.
All right, welcome Mike and welcome me, I guess. Welcome everyone to this little experiment that we did here. So, yeah, we should probably introduce ourselves. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'll go first. All right. My name is Filip. I'm what am I? I'm a tester. I work at a company called Slido, and I'm a Cypress ambassador. And what I like to do in my spare time is do things like this. And streaming live, putting some code together, creating some videos, workshops, etc. I do actually have a workshop, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's shortly about me. But Mike, you go ahead.
Yeah. Hey everybody, Mike Cataldo. So, yeah, I'm also a tester. I'm an SDET senior SDET at Lattice. We make an HR product, and it's been great. It's been great there. Previous to that, I was working at Cypress, and I've just been a Cypress fanboy for the longest time, which is not very long in the Cypress world, especially compared to, Selenium or something. But you fanboy.
You kind of skimmed over the whole "I worked at Cypress" thing. I think that's something we should stop on, because I know what you did there, but I'm assuming that not everyone who's watching or who will be watching knows what you did there, and we'll get back to that also as we do the code review. So
yeah,
you should maybe tell us more about that.
Sure. Yeah. I was a DX engineer. So prior to working for Cypress, I was an ambassador as well, and really promoting Cypress, on social media, but especially locally, and eventually I kind of caught their eye, and they first asked me to be an ambassador, and then asked if I wanted to join as a DX engineer. That's developer experience, and it was a good opportunity because as a DX engineer at Cypress, you're really involved in kind of the ideation of new features. It was a short stint for me, but I worked with mainly on the session feature and some other small things, as well as worked on some content creation. And then soon after got sniped by Lattice. I fell in love with them, love at first sight, you might say, and nice. Now I'm there, but I'm still through and through a fan of Cypress, and still promoting. Perhaps not as much with the new job, but yeah, just still getting involved locally at a local level with meetups and things like that, and of course doing this podcast with Filip. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, all right. So to anyone watching, we'll keep this very informal. You can see beer in Mike's hand, or is it a beer?
Pepsi.
It's a Pepsi. All right. No beer. Maybe I should open one. But we have jotted some of the talking points, and Mike came up with a great idea here. Let's start off with talking about what's new in Cypress. So we got a couple of bullet points here with what's new in Cypress. So let's maybe start with that. Mike, you worked on CY sessions, so is there anything continuing over there?
I don't. In terms of side session, I don't know. I'm not sure, and I haven't actually used it too much. But the recorder stuff is really is really exciting. We should talk about that. And also,
Oh yeah.
I want to bring up the Cypress
Cypress Origin, right?
changelog. Yeah, there's also Cypress Origin. I'm trying to bring up the changelog so I can.
The changelog. I can open that. I can open that, and let's actually share that with our viewers over here. So let me make this a little bigger so you can see. And actually, there was a release recently, right? 961. So that was like a minor change, but I think like this is the thing we should be talking about, right? The cy.origin. So Cypress finally released the multi-domain support, and what I really like about this is how they did that. I'm gonna put up a blog
like under the hood.
Not under the hood. That's actually not something I looked into too much, but the philosophy behind that, like Jordan Powell, the ex-engineer at Cypress, has made this really nice blog about how to test multiple domains. That was sort of connected to the release of this, and he shows what's going on here, like how to use that, right? So if you would go to another domain like auth0 or some other login provider or single sign-on thing, you would get an error, right? But with 9.6, you can do experimental session and login. So they sort of connected these two features, like the session that you worked on and origin. And then you go ahead, you used it, you define the origin where you are redirecting yourself to, you put your commands that you want to execute on that origin inside this function, and then you go back and continue with your test. But what I really like about this is over here at the end of this blog, that you can create a custom command, create a session, and then inside that session use the origin command. So for example, if you're using like a Google SSO or some kind of SSO, they would probably have some sort of rate limiting going on. So you cannot like log in 100 times per minute, but it'll allow you only once or twice or something like that. And with session, you can just cache that login session and load it whenever you need. So I think that it kind of puts the thing into the perspective, like the whole session, right? Because you've been working on session, and when it came out, I'm not sure if I like understood it well.
Yeah. Basically what it's doing is it's taking the hassle out of having to, like, one of the things, for example, is what I've usually done is I'll do like an authentication manually and see, okay, it looks like, on this application that it's sending a login with this, information, and it's returning this key, and then this key is being saved in local storage. So I'll just make the API request and save that key in local storage, right? So what Session is doing is it's taking that hassle so that you don't have to do any of that. So if you have something more complex, like you have a cookie or something like that, it's also saved in addition to some local storage stuff. Maybe it's not just a key, maybe there's some other things that's inside. Like a lot of times with sessions, there'll also be like user data, like preferences for the application or whatever that's being saved. All that stuff is being saved with sci.session, so you don't have to render all those things if it's more complex than that. Or if you're just not comfortable with, say, sci.request and getting a key and putting it into local storage, this will take care of it for you. Now my question about
kind of
Origin
curious.
is, yeah.
So sorry, I didn't want to like jump in, but
we're both curious. Go for it.
I'm kind of curious, since you were working on that session, whether that was something more along the lines of we need to do this because it's a good feature, or is it something that people are requesting?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from the request. A lot of what's driven Cypress, a lot of the direction is driven by users. So, and that's it's probably no secret, but if you get enough people to gang up on Cypress, they can deliver. They can really deliver. So yeah, that's some perhaps maybe some insider information, but I think it's one of the reasons why I love Cypress so much, and why they're a great team is because they really listen to users, and it's very democratic, I guess, in that way, where it's like if there's a lot of people that really want something, and so if there's a feature that they're like, why isn't Cypress doing this? It's either one, they're not able to do it in a way that really lives up to the quality of Cypress, for one, or number two, there's just not a lot of people that need it. There are other features that users are wanting even more than that, and so those are higher priority. Yeah, I know Safari is kind of a big thing. A lot of people really want that, WebKit support, but one, it's not that easy, and they want to do it right. And number two, there's not as much need for it as some of the other things that have been coming out.
So that's an interesting thing, because what do you think about like whole multi-domain, not multi-browser support? Because I feel like the browsers are, Chrome is sort of dominating everything now, except like Safari, because we all have iOS devices and Macs and everything. So probably the WebKit sort of makes sense. But if you're a web developer and you need to concern yourself with different browsers, normally you got like polyfills for that, or CSS rules are sort of supported all around. So it's not like your application will get destroyed with a different version. And having so Firefox landed, right? A couple of like 2 years ago, don't remember. And it doesn't seem like too many people are actually using it, because you're not going to, if you have 200
based
tests,
on what?
you're not going
how do you know?
I don't know.
Not a lot are using that feature in Cypress, or are you saying not a lot are using the browser?
Not a lot are using that feature in Cypress. I think
really?
Someone told me, and like based on my experience, what we do, we don't go like running all of the thousands of tests that we have and take them all and now run them in Firefox. It doesn't really make sense to us. So I'm wondering if that's something that is really, really needed. Because my opinion is maybe not as much as some people make it seem, I guess, if you look at the issue on GitHub.
Yeah, I actually I've talked to a lot of folks on that, and I gave a talk a while back at a meetup and actually asked some people, about it straight up, like, is there really a need? And the only thing that was really difficult to argue was like, well, I am legally obligated to test in this browser.
All right.
Right? Okay. That's something that I can't argue, I can't argue with that. But other than that, outside of that, you have to dig down deep into your QA roots and remember, it's all about risk, right?
Yeah.
It's all about risk assessment. Okay, what is the cost of testing multi-browser, and what and what are the gains, and what are the risks that if you don't test multi-browser, that you're going to have the kind of bug get into production that is so irreversible and so detrimental that it makes it worth the additional cost.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something that you need to evaluate. Now, I personally haven't been on a team or with an organization where that has been a priority or has been a high risk. If anything, there were plenty of other things to worry about than worrying about
Yeah.
something that was specific to WebKit or Safari. Now, if you're in a situation where your boss or colleague says we really need cross-browser support, and you ask why. Well, because and they say, well, because we don't want this bug. We've had a bug, get through, and it was really bad. You could do what I did, which was I went into our bug reporting system and I essentially narrowed it down and looked at how many bugs were specific to Safari.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I'm sorry, but I don't recommend worrying about cross-browser support when less than 1% of the bugs that we have that have been logged are related to Safari. It's just not a good justification. Now, if that changes, we can reevaluate, but at this point, it's just not worth it. So that's kind of been my experience. But
I mean, I totally agree with you on that. Because with the automation, sometimes people can get like really, let's jump into it. Let's automate everything we did manually. Let's just automate that. And I guess there's a cost to that, like not only creating the test suite but also maintaining it. So yeah. But let's get back to news. I mean, we went through some interesting topics and we might get into that. Which reminds me, chat is actually on. So if you have something that you want to ask, or if you have an opinion or something like that, yeah, talk to us. It's okay. We can discuss that. But you mentioned Recorder in Chrome. So let's.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Let's look into that because there has been. So I'm trying to switch the scene, and it doesn't work now. All right, let's. Not sure. My Stream Deck was not working, but we can see it already. So Cypress Recorder was it, right? Should have probably saved the link. Chrome Recorder. And yeah, there's something now. Is this it? October 2021. That's probably not
October? Yeah.
Export Cypress test from Google Chrome DevTools Recorder. I guess this might be it.
Yeah, but let's back up a little bit and
Yeah.
talk about what this actually is and how does this differ from because Cypress does have the
Cypress Studio, right? Yeah.
Right? But this is not the same thing. So if you bring up Chrome, oh no, wait, this is probably, and you're in Brave too.
I'm in Brave, but I can spin up Chrome, no problem.
Do you have to have a Canary version though of?
Not sure about that.
Or a beta version of Chrome, but like.
Look, there's a Recorder.
Okay, so how? Yeah, you have to enable it, and then.
Yeah. All right. Start new recording. Now let's go to cypress.io.
Yeah.
And accept cookies, and let's learn more about dashboard. Oh, I didn't click on the start new recording.
Yeah, so give it a
Okay.
name. You might have to give it a name.
Yeah. All right. Recording name. Let's test.
Oh, and look at that selector attribute thing. So if you click on the little question thing. Oh, I didn't think it was going to take you to a new thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can actually specify like if you're doing this for your own app and you use like data sci attributes, you can actually specify data sci in there.
Oh, nice.
And as it's recording, it'll actually select. It's almost like the Cypress playground, where in the playground you can
specify,
like prioritize like which selector you want it to get first. And so this is kind of the same thing. And so you can do that. And what's happening when you're recording is it's going to create like this JSON object that has all of these actions in it. And originally it was for Puppeteer, but now with plugins and things like that, you can actually you can transpile it to anything that you want.
So
I don't know if
Cypress
transpile is the right
homepage.
word, but yeah.
So Cypress homepage, I'd imagine, has the data CY because that's something they
Yeah.
encourage. So when I
Yeah.
go to recorder, I can specify like this is the data attribute that I want to use, right?
Yeah.
Is that what
yeah,
it does?
So go ahead and do start.
All right. Let's
Yeah,
start
a new
recording.
recording. Let's just give it a try.
And
So try.
let's click on somewhere. Let's learn Cypress dashboard. Then we go to pricing. Then we go to docs. Oh, it took me to a new window. I guess that's.
Huh.
Hey, our recorder is not there. Multi-tap support missing in this? What the hell?
What? Test recording's not perfect right out of the box?
Yeah, how is that? Let's open the issue on GitHub. All right, but it's opening new tabs. I was hoping to like go through different pages, but it's taking me to another page.
Try doing end recording.
Yeah, let's do that.
Unless there was something else. I'm curious to see now. Oh, replay. Yeah, you could do replay.
Yeah, let's do replay. Oh, it actually recorded. Even
Whoa,
like the
that was
opening
actually
of the
pretty
windows.
impressive. Well, yeah, and it did the scrolling too.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that reflected in the.
So what can we do now? Like there's some Cypress support here, right? So what is that?
Yes.
Export as Puppeteer script JSON file.
Oh, you know what? I think that's where the extension comes in. Is it enables you to export it as a Cypress test? I think.
Oh, all right.
Either that. No. Either that. No, I don't remember.
Or it's
either that or you down. No, I think you have to download the JSON and then it's like a CLI that does the conversion. I think that's what it is.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. But I mean, I didn't know. People watching probably didn't know. We just found out. So let's. I had a Brave browser right here, and I opened Cypress Chrome Recorder. So I guess this is it, right? This is the new thing. 8 days ago. Newest release. So yeah, this repo. In order to export JSON from credentials, you need to be able to be on Chrome 1.1 or newer, and we were, right? I think I saw that pop up in the DevTools. So we install the thing, we target the path to the test file, and it should generate our test. Should we try it out? Let's try it out, right?
Yeah. Let's give it a try.
So we got this. So export as JSON file. Let's just save it to my desktop, and I will open code here. Then I'll open desktop here, and let's test JSON. Let's put it in here. All right, so we got it. So this is nice little JSON file we have here with all the information, offset X, offset Y. Nice. All right. So let's install project. Some of the npm install Cypress latest. Oh, do I have the latest version? We're probably going to wait for a second for it to install. I probably ended up on 9.6 and haven't installed 9.6.1. Oh no, it went pretty fast. So let's do npx Cypress open, just to have that project scaffolded, and
it's gonna download the binary, right? I think that's what it does on the first go around.
On the I think happens on the installation, right? So this is just like a verification process.
Right.
This is, by the way, when I do the workshop, this is sometimes that takes too long and just complicates things for people. But you can actually already specify the length of how long that specification goes. But if this fails, if you cannot verify, usually that means you have some sort of firewall. So people coming in on the workshop with their work laptops, etc., they'll sort of end up with the installation not with being unable to open Cypress. All right, so let's delete these files. Now let's. Now let's. I don't need this anymore. I need to open this. So let's npx install Chrome Recorder. npx. Okay, to proceed, yes. I'm curious. Are our faces covering the part? Yeah, they're covering part of our VS Code, but nothing critical yet, so we're good. So
okay, so it's saying which directory of files should be translated from Recorder.
Oh, it's already asking me. All right,
JSON
so
to Cypress. Yeah.
it's let us test.json. Will that work? Cypress integration. I guess let's rename this, and I guess I should have typed dot slash or something like that. So let's do it once more. Dot slash let's test. So my cursor is doing a weird thing.
Yeah, I think you could probably just press. Okay, I don't know.
Why is it typing a comma here? And my cursor is doing a weird thing. Let's try again. Sorry.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Try just pressing enter at that point, like at this point,
Directory,
and it'll just
all right.
default to everything.
I think it's going to try to
Maybe
parse Cypress JSON and package JSON as well. Let's see what happens.
Let's see, right? And then we could file
illegal operation or directory read object file sync. All right, so this is not working.
I wonder if you could pass in instead of it prompting you. I wonder if you could just pass in.
Yeah, probably yes. I think it was in the README. So npx relative path to the target test file. So let's do that. So I'm going to npx Cypress and now we go let's test.json. I think this will work better. Oh yeah, export it to integration. Let's test that spec. So let's look at the file. I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. All right.
Let's see. Okay, so let's test and then viewport.
I want to
because that's the viewport that you had there. That's cool.
Okay.
Okay, and then
let's test.
Visit. And then getting these things.
It's interesting that
I guess is there some clicking?
Yeah, there's some clicking. It's interesting because we specified, we got one data CY over here. And we specified
the one data CY that you actually saw.
Yeah.
When you
so we wanted that, but it didn't, like, here I clicked a lot of different links and it's not here. So I wonder, like, doesn't the Cypress page header, doesn't it have the data CY in here? Looks like it doesn't. All right, so it's just found the selector it could find. Okay, that's fine by me.
What does the original JSON look like? Let's look at that.
Yeah, we can. Let's do. I wanted to hide the Explorer panel. I had like a shortcut for that, but it doesn't work.
Oh, I think if you just press the Explorer icon, it hides the whole thing.
Oh, okay. My shortcut didn't work, and
go.
that totally threw me off. So, yeah.
Cool.
So it seems
So
like
now
it ignores a
has
lot of
steps.
things, right? So we got like steps and everything is here. Type navigate,
Let's see.
inserted events. And now we got click. Oh, it has like an area selector or something like that.
Oh.
And
Hmm.
and yeah, so I guess the tool is sort of like it parses this thing over here and generates your test.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about these record and replay tools? I'm curious because I'm a little skeptical, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm always skeptical, and I think it's also based on my experience, because a lot of these, you whenever you see a demo of a recorder, it's always an easy thing. It's always a simple example, right? And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I really like the Cypress real world app, is while I'm sure it can be a lot more real world than it is, it definitely goes beyond the the easy ones, right? The easy tests. And so when you're playing around with this, you're playing around with a recorder, in theory it looks great. I mean, back 10 years ago, Selenium had a recorder, and
Oh yeah, I used
you
that.
could click around, and yeah, I did too.
That was kind of my starting point.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us that are in this, that have been in this, in this space for a while, I think that's a lot of us have had that experience. And, but then when it gets to this point where it's like, okay, now I have a test and it has these things and it's working. Now I need to actually make it readable and I need to maintain it. That's where the recording feature isn't going to help you.
And
right?
repeatable.
So now you have to go in and what's repeatable?
And you need to make it repeatable as well.
And you need to make it repeatable. So I think it has to do with expectations too, right? Like, is your expectation to set up a test that's going to be repeatable and reliable and everything? Or is it something that's going to make it easy to just, like, I don't know, boilerplate or whatever you want to call it, like just get something started, and then you can kind of clean it up. But at least the teams that I've been on, if you do something like this, it's gonna start like this and it's gonna end like this. It's not gonna be cleaned up. It's not gonna be made better. It's just gonna be this, and over time, as you scale, it's not gonna work. But I want to be proven wrong. I really do. Like, obviously having a recorder makes software development in tests, less valuable, right? So so it would behoove me to really defeat this kind of thing. Yeah. But if I'm being honest and try to have an open mind, like, yeah, having something like this could be a tool that I could use to do my job even better than I do, right? And so I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that be successful. I want to hear some success stories from folks that have used a recorder successfully,
You kind of answered a question from Thomas he sent a couple of minutes ago, whether using a recorder to set up proof of concept, whether it actually goes somewhere beyond that, and whether it is good or maintainable. And I think you really struck a point here that the maintainability and overall practicality of using such a tool might be questionable. And Bjorn added to that he's struggling to find the benefit of using Chrome Recorder as opposed to Cypress Studio, which you already have your graphic user interface opened. You just click through the page and you got your file right there. You with the Cypress Chrome Recorder we just showed is sort of an extra step. But I think it might be useful if you are using a couple of tools together. So we talked about Safari. So if you're using, I guess if you're using, oh, it only had Puppeteer, right? It didn't have Playwright there. I wanted to say that if you're using Cypress and Playwright and you use Playwright just for your like WebKit tests, because you need them for some reason, and you can generate one JSON file and export it to all of those different tools. So it's interesting. I wonder if this will like become sort of a standard. If you could actually create a standard within Chrome DevTools that different tools could read.
Yeah, like a portable format for tests.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's definitely interesting concept.
It's definitely not there yet. Sorry, I jumped into yours.
No, I was just thinking that it could enable you to move from one thing to another, but I think would be kind of interesting is if we like I don't know if we could do it this time, but maybe some other time, is we could have a race. Like one of us uses the recorder and the other one writes this test, like just writes it out
like
manually.
A standoff, right?
Yeah, and then see who's faster, because I think that would answer. Was it Bjorn?
Bjorn.
Yeah, he was saying, compared to this, it adds complexity. Oh no, but I mean, all these guys, they're asking about this, and I think it comes down to if using this to build like a POC, right? That Thomas was asking. It depends. Like if it's going to take you just as long to use the recorder to write something and then clean it up versus just write something, that's already clean right from the start with all the right selectors and this and that, then there's your answer. It may not be worth it. So, that would be my litmus test for this.
By the way, speaking of standoffs, there's one coming really soon between Cypress and Playwright. We mentioned both of these tools today. And it's another amazing event organized by Applitools. So it's in 2 weeks, actually. And it's has a subtitle of Let the Code Speak. So we're going to compare different coding situations, different testing problems, and we're going to compare code of Cypress versus Playwright. And people get to vote which one is better. So I invite you all to help Cypress win this thing.
All right, yours truly will be there. I mean, you.
I'll be here, and Andy Knight, awesome guy. I got to meet him actually 2 weeks ago, and
cool.
And we talked a lot. We actually recorded a promo video. I'm looking forward for that to come out. Hopefully the sound is good, because we recorded that at like a cafe or like a bubble tea place, and but it was really fun to record that. So hopefully that will come out. So you're all invited to this little standoff. So that's kind of a
cool
shameless plug right here.
Well, okay. So speaking of meeting Andy, why don't you tell us about your US trip?
Oh, all right. I went to US. It was like first time for me visiting US, and I had a great time. I actually wrote a little tweet about it, so let me just show you. Because I wanted to take this opportunity to sort of meet different Cypress people. I didn't get to meet you, unfortunately, because I just had limited stops. Sorry, next time I'll make sure. but yeah, I stopped in Atlanta, where I met Cecilia, who's another ex-Cypress engineer, and I met Mark, who's just the most awesome person ever. Like he's really nice and really fun to talk to. And yeah, I went to Cypress offices to visit the chocolate factory.
Either that or you just took a picture of the front door.
No. I'm inside. Look.
Oh,
I'm
you went in.
offices.
Okay.
I
All
went
right.
in.
There's your proof.
There's my proof. I met Ronald, who's taking care of all the ambassadors. So ambassador program is growing rapidly now. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check out the ambassadors page on Cypress, where you can sign up, and this sweet guy will take care of you. Ronald is really amazing. He spent like half a day with me, showing me around, and yeah, it was awesome. And I got to meet these two nice people. So Drew is CEO of Cypress, and Brian Mann is the guy who started it all, along with Randall, who I met in Orlando vacationing. So yeah, I made a Cypress tool of this, and I got to talk to many Cypress folks, and I asked them questions because I was curious, like what's the future? How is it? Is Cypress going to hold its ground? And honestly, I really feel confident with Cypress' future. There's a lot of nice things to come, and even the people that have left the company, including you, Mike, right? I think
Yep.
you still believe that it's going to be a great product, and it's not going anywhere. So yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And he was at Star East too.
He wasn't at
That's why
Star
you were
East.
in
It was sort of a coincidence that he was there. He was vacationing there, because I wanted to meet
Wow.
him in Atlanta, but he was leaving the day I was about to meet everyone. But he said, I'll be in Orlando, come visit me there. So we hung out by the pool, drank and talked, and it was really lovely. I thought like I'm going to visit him for like hour and a half. We spent basically the whole afternoon or lunch. I think we started at lunch, and I came back in the evening. He's
Nice.
a really sweet guy. And yeah, and
Cool.
then Orlando. So I went to the conference. I met these awesome folks. So Andy, who I mentioned already, we're going to have that standoff. I met people from Apply Tools. I met the legendary Tristan Lombard, super sweet guy, and yeah, we had awesome time together.
That's awesome.
And yeah, these are the organizers plus Senor Performo. He was doing streaming during the whole conference, so we got to talk and we exchanged hats. So I gave him my hat from my hometown, Košice, and he gave me a K6 hat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I
Cool.
went to Boston, where I met Eran
All right.
and one and only Gleb Bahmuto. we got a
that's my,
drink together.
That's my old stomping grounds. I live in Utah now, but I grew up in Boston.
Yeah, Boston is beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. So it was nice. And I met Jessica as well.
Awesome.
So we talked
In
component
Boston, yeah.
testing and everything. So
Cool. That's awesome.
yeah, that's a little bit about my trip, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I finally got to like meet those people and experience them in real life, and yeah. So that's that wraps up the what's new part of this podcast. But we are reaching
That's great.
45 minutes already.
Wow.
And
We
we
just
didn't even
started.
do the code review. Although we did. We did with Chrome thingy. So
Cool.
so yeah.
That's
All right.
awesome. I love this little travel log thing. That's really great that you're able to do that and share it with the world.
Yeah, it
that
was
awesome.
absolutely lovely. I had such a blast with each and every one that I met, and I can't wait to do it again. I still feel like I'm jet lagged even after 2 weeks after I returned. But yeah, it was totally worth it.
So looking right here, and I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Serjan. And
Oh yeah.
Serjan says, "I'm curious. What do you guys think about Tosca? Is Cypress going to look more like Tosca in the future?" So, if what I know about Tosca is it's very targeted to enterprise as an enterprise solution, and much like Smart Bears it has been doing over several years, it seems like they're acquiring other companies in order to grow, in order to expand their lineup, as opposed to leading with innovation. Now that's my perception. I don't know a lot about Tosca beyond just forming my own opinion, and I looked into them years ago, and I've been hearing about them in the news with regards to acquisitions, but nothing really stands out in terms of anything beyond that. And as I understand, I think they do have a recording tool and some tools to manage like a test case management product, and what was the other thing that I was going to say? Oh, and they have some great content too. And they have I think they have a yearly conference and stuff too. So I don't think they're a bad company, but I think at least the kind of companies that I work with are not very enterprisey. They're pretty smaller, tech startups and mid-sized businesses, whereas Tosca seems to be geared towards bigger businesses, especially in Europe. Do you have any experience with them, or
No, not at
it?
all. I guess what this question is trying to ask is whether whether Cypress is going to present, sort of dive into the whole, let's make it as easy as it gets with testing, which I guess why we have so many record and replay tools. But I really like how Cypress plays this game, because if you just have just the basics of JavaScript, you can already start writing a simple test with Cypress. It doesn't take too much, and if you look at the examples and sort of copy and paste them and play around with the code, you'll be able to create it. And I think that's a real hurdle to overcome with every test automation tool there is. But yeah, I've sort of went the other way with this question, because I don't really know Tosca, but I imagine this is the essence of the question. So if Cypress is going to make everything they can in terms of making it possible for people to get into using it and using it across the company, etc. So
I don't look at Cypress as kind of a follower. I look at them as a leader, and I think that they're going to stand out because they do things differently in terms of catering to users and innovation. But taking a step back, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a philosophical tangent. But end-to-end is something that, okay, so generally on a team, you have fewer QA and SDETs and more developers, right? So if you're going to do end-to-end is something that, even though Cypress does help with flakiness and makes life better, it doesn't eliminate flakiness. It doesn't eliminate the need to maintain tests. So or write tests. Like, you still need to write them. And as we showed, like the recorder, even though that makes it a lot easier, it doesn't it's not a magic wand, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a big undertaking, so if you want to be successful with end-to-end, you need to have support from developers. You need to have them writing new tests. You need to have them contributing to the maintenance. And one thing that's different about Cypress is that it caters to developers by providing a runner that's very friendly to that development cycle, right?
Yeah.
By being able to do things like TDD or something close to TDD, where you can thrash on your code and thrash on the tests at the same time. And when we talk in QA about shifting left, right? You can't get any more left than at the developer, you know, in terms of writing tests, right? Yeah. So, you know, and so that's why I think that Tosca isn't necessarily going to, well, I can't say where Tosca is going to go. I know Cypress isn't going to go that direction because Cypress is the developer's friend, and the I mean, you know, QA and development, you know, there's some overlap there, but I guess from Mike's point of view, you know, I think it's a developer's friend, and therefore it's going to be a better product, and it's going to help with writing end to end with the support of developers, not something that you're just going to do by yourself and maintain by yourself, because it's part of a process that's coming much later in the development, you know, life cycle. Because you can write test cases in the beginning of your life cycle and things like that, right? You can try to involve others in writing those test cases, but if it's not something that encourages developers to continue to maintain or help support you in maintaining, it's going to fail. That's my thought.
I totally agree, because I have been able to try to have my tests like totally separate from the source code, and it didn't work. Like, we are always like sort of lagging behind. So as soon as we included our test into the source code, it lived right within the source code. We had our CI set up. That's where, of course, there was some pain in there, but that's where kind of it started to make sense with the tests. And so. But again, it might be like heavily dependent on how we did things. So, of course, if you have like nightly builds or you do one build per month, etc., I guess you can do it differently. All right. We had some. So the initial idea for this podcast was to look at the code, look at the best practices, do some kind of a code review. And if you feel like you want to, like anyone watching this either live now or after, you can submit your code into the Discord channel. I can actually show you the Discord channel. So it's on my page.
Can you maybe put a link, an invite link?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
It's in the description.
It's
I can
in
see it actually.
Oh yeah, right. That made things a little easier. Yeah. So it's in the description, so you can click on that. And the goal of this is to basically take a look at the code, and let's discuss that. So I have a window over here. Let me just put it in the focus, and we can take a look, because we had one brave soul that submitted their code, and so that's what we are going to take a look at. So I actually got 3 tabs, but I think this was the one that we wanted to discuss. And it's actually our friend from the chat. So thank you, thank you for that. Thank you for providing this. What we want to do is to like maybe point out some things that maybe could be done better, or rather, I would say that maybe we would have done differently, which doesn't necessarily make it better, but maybe will give some inspiration to you or to anyone else listening or watching, rather. We're not going to just do audio version of this. All right.
Is there more than one? Sorry, is there more than one it block in here, test block? Is it just that search form, or is it there's something else?
It seems like there's only one.
It looks like it's just
block
that one
inside the describe. Yeah.
Okay, because just starting right at the top with that side art intercept, you have this before hook, and if you're just going to do it before, if you add more than one test in here, you're not going to have access to those intercepts. It needs to be a before each, because between each test it clears out any intercepts. In fact, one of the things that I do, and Philip, I want your opinion and anybody else that's listening, is like, why not just put do you put all of your intercepts in like a global before each hook, or do you put everything in the test that you need, that you're going to use it? Or do you not use intercept? Do you use intercepts?
Oh yeah, I do. Intercepts are great for like stabilizing tests, but even like for testing different edge cases. So that's so I do use them. And normally what I would do, if I have multiple it blocks, I would put them into before each, or I would put them inside the it, but definitely always before I do the CY visit. That's what you
have to, right?
You don't really have to. You just need to put your intercept in time for it to catch the request.
Right.
I think I had a situation or two where I would intentionally put the intercept somewhere later in the test, so it wouldn't catch the first one, but it would catch the second one, which I guess could be also like done differently, but there may have been some reasoning. So if you're interested in something that happens later in test, you can actually put the intercept later, but it needs to like happen before the request actually occurs. Because once you declare intercept, it's going to match all of the requests with a certain matching, right? So you might be in a situation where a similar request happens multiple times, but you're interested only in the last one or something. So then you might choose to like do it in a timely manner.
So let's just say that in Slido, right, you have a request that's get view candidates, right? And that's something that appears in multiple specs. So you would be repeating the same intercept, assuming that you're just spying. So you're not doing any kind of like any kind of stubbing, right? You're just spying on the request. You'd have to repeat all of that. So is there any reason to put them in the spec as opposed to just having them in a global hook and just declare all of your intercepts all in one go?
That's a good question. I think the reason for that would be like I have some tests where I want to handle the response and change it, put a fixture or something like that, and some tests where I don't, where I just match the request and wait for it and then move on with my test. So that's why I never really thought about. I think I experimented once with like a global intercept that would like catch all of the requests that I want and put it in the global before each, but I moved away from that. Like what I want to do inside the test when I open the file is to is to see what is happening inside the test and have all of my information there. So ideally, I don't like do a global intercept in a way that would I don't know. With I think with the stubbing, it would make things too complicated. Or do you have some? Do you use like a global intercept?
Yeah.
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 And how do you handle
I don't
stubbing
do any...
if you need to?
I haven't yet.
Oh, all right.
I haven't needed to. And I think that if I did, I would just declare the intercept in the test and do it, you know, and do it that way. But yeah, I don't do any stubbing or any of that. It's just simply spying. And so so prior to Cypress, I was using sci.route, and I had one play, and it was less it wasn't as powerful as intercept, but but I was also kind of doing the same thing. I think I had a couple of things that I stubbed out, but for the most part it was just spying, and I put all of my sci routes all in one file. And now in my current role at Lattice, it's a GraphQL API, and so each call to the API is just /GraphQL or something to that effect. So I just grab all of those, and then I look at in order to determine what the alias is for that request, I just inspect that request and look for it, the operation or whatever it's called, the query name, and then set it that way. And then that way it just aliases every GQL request that comes in. And then I have a special one for batched requests and stuff like that. It's been interesting because that's actually the first time I used GraphQL with sci-intercept. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm doing it now. I haven't run up against any problems, but I was just curious, like, what your experience is with, and like if you have tried that and then ran into a problem, because I don't want to run into the same problem.
Like definitely with the stubbing, it makes things more complicated, because once I intercept a certain request, and if I want to stub it, then I'm sort of rewriting the first intercept. It just doesn't feel right to me, so I'm not sure if that's a problem or not. But yeah.
Cool.
All right, so let's look at this. What we got here. Not sure if it's. Maybe I should make it slightly bigger. I think this is more readable. So yeah. So we got the intercept. That's what we discussed. Then we got like the Cypress on thing, and this is something I use as well. Like I don't really want my test to fail whenever there's a red thing in the console, so I do use this as well. I heard someone say like, all right, but if the application breaks at any point, I want to know, which is good, but I chose like a more pragmatic approach, but also this is something I would put inside the index, the support index file, to have that like globally.
Yeah.
So that would just be like one thing I would maybe improve. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Something with that I would do too is I would actually also do a sci task or sci exec where I console log that error that's coming in. So that way, even though the test doesn't fail when I get an error, it also comes out with the test report. So that way, if the test does fail, I have that error there.
Oh, nice.
Now, if it's really making things noisy, then that may not work. Or you could put some conditionals in there to say, like, if it has these keywords or whatever, then output it, because that might be important. It might actually be important for the test if the test fails. I wonder if you can actually. actually you could probably store um, that error, and then on test fail,
Yeah,
then
you
log that
probably
out.
could. I had a similar thing going on with the Cypress on, where but I use it for something else. I had that in my blog, but I have created a custom log for myself where I would use CY log at every step of my test, and then I would have a custom function that would number those logs. And whenever the test would fail, it would collect all of those logs and print them out into the error. So as you would have an error, typical Cypress error like timed out looking for an element, etc., then not only you would have the error itself, like with everything, but there was so the test script went like this, and it would go number 1, open the page, number 2, click on this button, number 3. So it would like show you where the test actually stopped.
Oh, cool.
And it's using this Cypress on thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the fact that Cypress has all of these events that it fires, and then using on you can add essentially listen for that, and then do something with that event. That's super powerful.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like you can build a lot of things. I kind of wish Cypress dashboard would have that. If it would like have different like webhooks or stuff like that. For example, fire a webhook when there's a first failed test, or fire a webhook when tests are finished, or when tests starts, or something like that. Like I kind of wish that the Cypress dashboard would be like more pluggable, where you could like do more things with it. I guess it's a commercial project, that one, so they don't want to like fully open source it, but then like having some sort of open API would be really nice, because this, as you said, like this is really powerful. This can help you a lot. The dashboard should have that as well.
Well, if it's I kind of understand what you mean, because like where it's tied to the dashboard, but if you wanted to do something on a failure, rather than wait for the failure, rather than react to an event where the failure is on the dashboard, you can just do it within the failure at the time that it's running. I don't have
but
any particular
I imagine
example,
it could be like connected to GitHub Actions or something like that, where it would just mark something as failed, or write a comment, or whatever you need to do with that event. I think that could be useful. So what's your opinion on XPath? Because that's something that's discussed a lot.
I've been giving my opinion this whole time. Why don't you tell me what your opinion is?
But everybody knows my opinion on this. I'm not really enjoying that, and I actually let me show you, because I have a blog about this one, and XPath. So this is sort of alright. This is what I write at the beginning. Let me start right off the bat that I'm not the biggest fan of XPath selectors. But the thing is the only thing I totally understand that you might use it because there's a need or something like that. But what I've tried to show in this blog post is that it doesn't offer anything more than what you already have in Cypress, right? Because you can select the root element, You can select element by text. You can select a certain element by text. You can select parent element, child element, go around the tree, and I think what it does is that it makes it much more readable. So this would be a really nice example.
Yeah.
So select an element containing a specific child element. So you want to select the parent, but want to select the parent of a certain child element. So this is how you would do that in Cypress, and this is how you would do that with XPath. And I am sort of I really like the how would I say, the way I try to write tests is to go for readability first. So above everything, I want to make sure that the test is readable. So whenever I need to open it again, like for a second time after I wrote it, I'm probably debugging. That's probably the reason why I'm opening it again. So when I'm debugging,
you don't just open specs just to admire your fine work.
Yeah, I don't talk about that. I don't talk about that publicly. But yeah, I want to like, ideally my eyes should fall immediately on the problem. That's what I want to have within my tests. And XPaths are kind of making it more difficult. Now, I'm not bashing this, right? Of course. I think this was like a assignment for a job, if I remember correctly. So if the requirement was use XPath, then you just use XPath, right? So it's not like I'm not trying to criticize this code. Just the discussion on XPath is kind of an interesting one. And
well, Sir John says here this test was supposed to be done in Selenium, but I converted it into Cypress instead. So
yeah, XPath is quite used.
The
with
XPath
Selenium, right?
totally makes sense. Yeah. I totally agree with you about the XPath stuff, and actually, and with readability. In fact, I've even seen like sci.get being used in such a way that it was not very readable. Like, even if you go back to, your blog example where, you talk about XPath and, and you have like, these aren't, this one right here. So sci.get board, .eq0, right? Okay. So that's the first board element, right? But if you had, say there was like a data sci attribute that you could add that was a little bit more descriptive about like what board that is specifically, let's do that. So that way what the test is actually doing. And like, the way I look at it is I should know what it's doing. So if I'm reading it, I should be able to picture in my head, if I'm familiar with the application, or if I'm not too familiar but I kind of have an idea, I want to be able to read through the test and know, okay, I get an idea of what this is. I think a lot of us get used to looking at a test and not really knowing what it's doing, and so we just have to run it and watch and see what it does, and then make that connection of, okay, now I can see what it's doing. But let's challenge ourselves to go beyond that. Let's challenge ourselves to actually write tests where you don't need to do that. You don't have to go through, because there might be situations where you don't, like if it fails on CI and you're just looking at the logs, you're on the dashboard and you're looking at there is the video recording. But yeah, if we're looking at the screenshot, or we're looking at the on the dashboard, you can actually see the spec and the different steps that it's going through. Or the screenshot. Like, it should be obvious what it's actually doing, because debugging is already difficult as it is. So so even with sci.get, you want to focus on readability.
Cool. Yeah, exactly, and that's why I kind of enjoy contains command, because it's like readable out of the box. Like, some people don't really like selecting elements by text, because the argument is that the text is prone to change. But I don't really believe that, at least in most of the like the interactive parts. So if you have like blog or an article or documentation, that's of course the text is going to change, right, as you update it. But if you have an application where you have a send button or OK button or submit, that's probably not going to change a whole lot. So selecting that by text gives you the benefit of the test being readable, and at the same time it's not going to change that often.
Right, but here's the other thought too is maybe if the text changes, you do want your test to fail.
That too,
right?
Exactly.
If the text changes, there might be a situation where that's the case. And like, let's just imagine that you're trying to click on a board and it's called Great Board and you change it to Awesome Board, right? And so because you're selecting by text, when it changes from great to awesome, the test is going to fail. But especially if those kinds of changes also change how the test should run or how you describe it. Like, let's just say that the title of the test is we click on Great Board, right? Or we test Great Board is working and now the actual text changed to Awesome Board. Well, if it wasn't brittle to that change, now you have a title that, you know, I don't know if that's an edge case, but it's just an example of where you might want it to fail. And so, like, you have a good point. Like, in some cases, like, text isn't really going to change. So I think it's worth, I wouldn't just discard it immediately, selecting by text, especially the gains that you get through readability, which is huge. And actually, right now, I've kind of fallen in love with data sci attributes. I wasn't really too fond of them before. I thought that if you have good descriptive classes, that's actually good enough. But I actually really do like the data sci. I'm starting to get used to it.
Have you?
But as a fallback, SciDot contains is the next best thing.
Have you created your own custom command for the data CY?
Oh, so yeah, I actually created a shorthand. So instead of doing data sci dash, you actually do hash. So a single hash is an ID, right? And a double hash, which doesn't exist, a double hash is data sci. So I overrode it.
So wait, how do you do that? Like, do you do that in the editor or?
No, what I did is I what do you call that? Like command overwrite. So I overwrote the get command.
Okay.
So what it does is it says if it contains this double hash, then replace it with data sci. Otherwise, just pass it along.
Oh, nice. So you use the command overwrite API and you just okay, that's cool. So there was just like an if statement where if it's that, then do this. That's awesome. That's clever. I like it.
It's actually really fun. I'm actually happy that it's working. Sometimes, you do these kinds of things and it's like, I don't know if this is going to make people's lives miserable. But every once in a while, every once in a while I have an idea that actually works.
That's a really good one. By the way, do you have that? Is this somewhere on GitHub? Can we take a look?
That's actually a good question. Let me see.
If it's not, make sure you post it to the Discord. Like there's a code snippets channel. Because Lucas is actually requesting to show the code.
Oh, show the code.
Show us the code.
Show me the money.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I can pull it up. Hold on.
I actually have my own command, but I went I went quite far with the custom command.
Yeah.
So I got this improve custom command log, and in this post I showed how to create a better custom log for your command. So all the information that you would have in here. So I called it take, because get and take felt similar. And I would have all of these custom things over here, and my goal was to create a command that would be very, very similar to the get command in terms of everything except for the name and the fact that you don't have to write the data CY thing. So even in the console, not sure if that's visible well. So even in the console, you could create command, and the console would spit out all of these things, like what it has yielded, what are the elements, selector, and everything. So that was one of my, and it would do the snapshots as well. So you would have all of the snapshots and everything. So that's pretty cool. And the other thing
that's awesome.
I did was sort of an experiment, was to autocomplete selectors. So me, as someone who is almost known for not liking a page object model, I would create a page object essentially. But I would sort of combine, I would have the get data CY, so that's it's the same command but with a different name, where it would just be a wrapper around the get command. I would have this type selectors. So in TypeScript you can define your custom types. So I would define board, list, cart, and everything, and put them all inside a file. So whenever I would start typing get data CY, I would get this nice autocomplete with all of my selectors. So essentially this file would be sort of a page object with, as you might use it, with storing all of your selectors in one place. So this is essentially what it would do. Plus you get the autocomplete. So that was kind
cool.
of nice.
I think I'd be interested in something like that if I could automatically generate that. You know what I mean? Because what if my application changes? You know what I mean? Oh, did you already figure that out?
Sort of. Actually, it wasn't really me who figured that out. I just slightly changed a thing that my colleague did, and he would have a bash script, a grep script, where he would look into all of the files that would have the data CY thing, all of the HTML files, and would extract the text from that. And I actually have that in my repo. It works pretty nice. Plus I did a thing over, not sure if this is, no, this is something else. Oh yeah, it's over here, where I would also take a look into unused selectors. So I would do similar grep, but I would take a look into get data CY command, find everything that's in there, and if these two didn't match, if there would be selectors in the source folder that would not be in the test folder, I would print it out. These are some selectors you're not really using. And what this first script would also do is it would generate the selectors DTS file, which would be then fed into the custom command. So you could, in theory, generate those, but it doesn't. There's one caveat there, is that if your selectors are generated, if you have a for loop in your code, and you have 4 items or something like that, and you have data CY
Yeah.
item 1, etc., it would not catch that, obviously. So this would be
Right.
good if you have a single file component in view, or because it's basically an HTML, or if you in an Angular application where you would have your HTML file separately, you would have a hard time doing this in React, although not impossible. Well, not hard time. It could be harder because you might run into more situations where that data CY selector is generated or added through a variable or something like that. So yeah. So did you find the code?
Yeah, I did. I'm starting to think about this solution and the possibility of looking at like the page that you're visiting, like if you have a site.visit, and then querying for all the data sci attributes and add that to the autocomplete, right? But that would have to be like a real-time thing. It'd have to be built into VS Code, but like that'd be a fun thing to try. Anyway, that's cool though. I love that. I like this kind of stuff, and I have all kinds of fun examples of things like that, and I do have a blog. It's at iheartjs.dev, but I haven't really been blogging lately. Ever since I got out of Cypress, I have been pretty silent on that front. It's been a year. And so, I started with Cypress, and then I started with Lattice, soon after, and I've just been busy. But I'm motivated by this request to show this code, which I'll show now. But I also want to have I want to post a blog, dust that off. So how do you want to do this? Do you want me to share my screen on Zoom? Will it capture that? It might capture it in
this would be a problem because I'm capturing already. So if you could send me the link, would that be possible?
No,
not really.
Because it's Lattice code, which is open source.
All right. I guess in that case you need to post it into the code snippets or write that blog. You know what? Write that blog. You need to get back on with the blogging. I think people will be excited about that. But
so one of the things
iHeartJS.dev, sorry.
One of the other things too that you'll see, and I don't know if I want to include this in the blog or not. Maybe I will. Is I also have the ability to get query by component name. So if you have a React component and you want to query by that name, you can do that. And what it does is it looks for a capital letter because generally speaking, you're not going to use. So if you don't have anything before the text, then it's assumed that it's an HTML tag, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to select a div, you just do div, div. You're not going to do a capital div.
Yeah.
Most don't do that. I don't know if it works. I think it does work. I'm pretty sure it would work if you tried it that way. But nonetheless, that's not conventional. So in order to select a React component, you just capitalize it, and it knows that, and the get command that I've overwritten knows that it's that you're specifying a React component, and it selects that. However, I do want to say that selecting by React component does kind of go against convention a little bit, because end-to-end is supposed to behave like a user would, and a user isn't looking for a React component. They're looking for an actual UI component on the page, which may or may not be the same as the React component name. So just, I actually, even though I have that feature in here in the code base. And I'm kind of running the show with regards to end to end. I've told folks not to use that functionality. I'm like, I don't really think that's a good idea after all. So while it does it, I don't encourage it. However, if you really need it, it can be handy, especially if you don't have any other better options for selecting. Like if you're in a pinch and you need to select something and it's more readable, like you were saying, I agree with you, like readability is first and foremost. Like if your selector, the most readable selector is the one that's a React component, then you should use that.
Yeah.
But you need to be disciplined, and the developers that I work with are not. I don't trust them. I don't even trust myself. That's the problem.
I mean, enforcing
it's
rules,
too tempting.
enforcing any kind of rule, it takes time. It's prone to error. It's sort of. I always think about that in terms of like how can we make the path as smooth as possible. So you don't really need to think about that, and you don't really have 1,000 things to remember, because you already have 1,000 things to remember. So how about we just like make it as smooth as possible, so you like focus just on the important stuff, and then everything else comes just automatically for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually I had an idea, because we have this shared VS Code here. So if you have that code, you can actually paste it here, and we can take a look at it. Just occurred to me.
Yeah, I could do that. Let's do that.
But you write that blog anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, let's do it.
If you have, by the way, if you have, what's this? Is this like a Medium thing, or what is this? Did you make it yourself?
Is
Do you have an RSS
not
feed,
entirely. No. I don't think I have an RSS. If I do, it's just something that's built in. Yeah, no. No, I'm using Ghost.
Oh, okay.
Ghost.io. Yeah, and then I have a template that I'm using.
All right.
That was designed by this guy Godo Frito.
If you have that RSS feed, make sure to send it to me, and I'll send an update whenever you have a new blog.
Cool.
To the Discord.
Nice. All right, let's see if I can get this in here. All right, I'm going to add I'm going to add this in commands.js, because that's where this would live.
All right.
Although I do use TypeScript. So
it's
okay.
using TypeScript. Let's rewrite it,
But
just
that's
to get that code highlighting.
But I don't think I
all
actually have any. I don't think I have any. I have. Well, if you want, you can rename it to TS.
Or not?
Cool.
I guess we just add it under underlining here.
So then if you named it TS, then I'll just go ahead and add the types to it as well. Can I do that? Oh no, now I lost that.
Oh, sorry. I guess I.
No, that's okay. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
I was just in the old file. So now that's how I added the types. But we don't have a.
Oh, we don't have a TS
config.
config. It's not actually set up to be TypeScript. Sorry, I
That's
forgot
okay.
about that.
That's
walk us through that. The CY state is interesting.
Yeah.
I never used that. How can you use that actually?
Yeah, so state is actually something that is not. That's actually on my queue of blog posts, as I want to write about state, because that's one of the sort of secrets. It's something that's available to you, but it's not advertised. It's not documented by Cypress. But in this case, it allows me to access the current command that I'm using. So and okay, so sci.state, which what I recommend is just if you want to know what sci.state is, the best thing to do is just do sci.state in a test and just inspect its output. And you can look and see what's in there. So I'm not going to get into it now. But in this case, what happens is when you do sci.contains, it actually calls sci.get. Okay. So when it does that, this current.attributes.name equals contains, because the current command that you're calling is contains, but what you're actually executing is sci.get. So what this is saying that if sci.get is called within dot contains, then is contains is true. Okay. So that's that. And then I'm using sci.contains here because I want to say if it's not contains, I want to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to do this, which I'll get to in a second.
By the way, is it so you are not sure if I understood that correctly. So if you have get command and right after, if you have contains command and right after that you have get command. This is what it's.
No. What sci.state is, what this is basically saying is that, like, if let's just say that you do sci.contains in a test, like sci.contains button, submit, something like that. What's actually happening, what Cypress actually does is to do contains is it will actually run instead. It'll execute a sci.get instead. Like under the hood, that's what it's doing. And so when it does that, this current.attributes.name is contains, even though it's actually executing get under the hood.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So that's yeah.
I guess that's something you learn when you work for Cypress, right?
Well, when you're as obsessed with Cypress as I am, then yeah, you do. So,
all right.
But yeah, that's essentially what that's doing. Is it's basically.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the explanation.
This is what over engineering is. To some people, this is probably over engineering. But okay, and so this one is saying is component. So this is essentially saying, does this start with a capital letter? So if it starts, and if you remember before I said starts with a capital letter, I said before to select component. This is to select component. So with selecting a component, basically it's kind of the same thing, except if I do sci.get, oops.
Don't have the autocomplete set up here.
Why is it escape? There we go.
Yeah.
Sci.get. So if we do sci.get and then I say, big modal, right? A lot of times, like React components start with a capital letter, and so I'm going to say, okay, I want to get the big modal thing. It's gonna look at this sci.get, and it's going to say, okay, it started with a capital letter, so it's a React. So we're going to assume that it's a React component.
Okay.
And we're also assuming that you're not doing sci dot get div like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's not going to work. So anyway, that's what that is. Now if it isn't the contains, but it's a component, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the second argument, and if it's not, we're going to default to an object. And then this is just adding this React component query timeout, which part of the there's actually a plugin under the hood for this sci.react that I don't think we have time to get into, but
yeah, we can. I
but
guess we
essentially
can
this is just
skip over that. Yeah.
and then this is essentially saying use sci.react to get that component. That's essentially what we're doing, is we're replacing get with sci.react. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to resolve this selector, which is another function.
I guess that one is the one that you would do with that does the double hashtag thing, right?
That handles that.
Let's see.
So that's below. So then what I've got here is we're taking in this selector, which is a string. This is TypeScript, and we're saying, okay, given this string and the data sci value, we want to return selector.replace all, whatever's after this double hash, we want to replace it with data sci. And then, it looks like I've got another function. Data, find data sci value. Where's that? I wanted to keep things simple by not copying everything over from my code. So, and then this is to find the data sci value. It's essentially has this
regular expression,
and doing the replacement, because what can happen is, and I really should have JS docs in here to explain this. But basically what can happen is you can have you could do something like sci.get, and then let's just say you did like some kind of div, and then you had big modal or something like that, right? This is basically just pulling that out. So it's going to say, okay, replace this. Don't monkey with any of the other stuff that might be around it, like dot,
wouldn't
I don't know. Whatever.
Wouldn't replace all on line 60 just take care of that? Because it's going to like replace all the dash string with the data CY.
Yeah.
Because it would keep the rest of the string, right?
I probably tried that and it didn't work, and so that's why I wrote this, and I did it so long ago that I don't remember. And that's another reason why it's important to document your stuff. It's important to write, to add documentation. Otherwise you forget stuff like this. Yeah. So, that's what happens. And, I think, it's funny. Like, I do these kinds of experiments, and I don't know if they work. I don't know if they're going to work. And so I don't really put like too much time into them. And so I'm like, who knows if this is even a good idea, And so
you know what? Yesterday I had a call with Zach Jones from Egghead.io, because I'm going to be preparing another course, and it's going to be about component testing, which is an area that I have really very limited knowledge about, but I still want to learn it, and I think I'm getting the grasp of it, and I want to do a course about it. So I felt like I told him that so I need to get comfortable in this topic, because I feel like I'm still like if I make a course, it feels like I'm winging it and just like doing something and hope nobody will notice that I'm total amateur. And he was like, everybody's winging it. So I think this might be a nice words of encouragement we could give as a final message today. That whatever the code looks like don't care about that too much. If it works, if it works. And yeah, I like that you went out in the open and show what's happening here, and you're like commenting like, oh, this is a mess. Like if you've seen my code, it'll probably always be also be a mess. So everyone codes code is a mess. The thing that I guess will keep us going and keep us improving, that we actually work on that and refactor that.
Yep.
My friend actually told me like I spend 20% of the time writing the code and 80% of the time rewriting the code. So first make it work, then make it pretty. But I guess it's important to not stop at the step one.
There's no such thing as a code beauty contest.
Oh, there will be one, with the playwright thing. I actually called it that when I talked to Andy, because it's going to be like, we're going to show one code, then we're going to show another code, and we let the people vote of which one they like better. So it really kind of feels like like beauty contest. But we'll talk about how to not make it a beauty contest, but how to actually talk about what's happening there and what are the advantages and disadvantages of one or the other. All right, I feel like we can wrap this thing up. We've been going on for an hour and 46 minutes, I think. 46 exactly. So that's been really nice. It didn't feel like that, right? At least not for me.
It doesn't for me. It never does, especially when I'm talking about Cypress.
Yeah. So I guess we need to do another one, ideally really soon. Cool. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to that. One more thing I would like to leave the rest of the viewers with is the workshop that I do. I've been advertising it a little, but yeah, if there's one going on 31st of May until 9th of June, so it's going to be like 4 meetings, Tuesdays and Thursdays. My local time is 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. so 3 hours each of the meetings, and we will be teaching, learning through Zoom the core concepts of Cypress, and you can check out the workshop content and everything. And if you are interested, you can sign up for the workshop. There's a discount if the price is too high for you, and yeah. So hopefully I'll see you there. Just a small pitch at the end. Mike, do you have anything to pitch?
No, not at the moment. Keep an eye. Actually, okay. So if you go to iHeartJS.dev, you actually can stay up to date and by subscribing at the top. So I'll be creating a post for this stuff that I went through today, and perhaps more now that we're getting this started. I'm sure that I'm going to be prompted for more content, and a lot of the stuff that I put out there is something that there's a need for it, and I know that there's a need for it, but when I have somebody actually prompting me for additional content, it makes it easier for me to do, because I feel like at least one person is going to see value in this, or is looking for this stuff. So if you if you have requests, I take requests. But as we continue to do these podcasts, there'll be more of opportunities for that.
Yeah. By the way, the person looking for that advice might actually be you in the past. Like you didn't know you're going to write about something you didn't know like 2 weeks ago. Or it can be you in the future, because you might forget and wait, I wrote a blog about this. I need to find out.
That's true.
So go for it, Mike,
and
you guys subscribe to his blog.
Cool.
You wanted to add
All
something?
right.
Sorry, I kept on babbling.
Nope. That's it. I did see a couple of questions. Maybe some of them got redacted because we answered them, but definitely reach out on Discord, and I'm on there as well if you have questions.
All right, then. So that's a wrap. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. See you soon. We'll let you
Thank
know
you.
when is the next one. Bye, everyone.
See ya.